Really proud that the Aspinall Foundation is bringing the first badger, African honey badger, back to the continent of Africa in the history of the world. And to put this in some type of context, in the last few years European zoos have been taking honey badger from the wild and zoo washing them and using animal dealers and zoos and bringing them into European collections. And we're doing the opposite. We're taking honey badgers and rewilding them. And they're not a critically endangered animal. So what zoos are doing is absolutely extraordinary. And these zootonic, zootopian, zoocratic morons that are dealing with badgers and taking them from the wild, in my view, should all be strung up. Tembi was from Howlett's Wild Animal Park in England. She's been there for a number of years. She has a very lovely nature, but she doesn't belong in England, doesn't belong at Howlett's. We are in the process of rewilding her and sending her back to South Africa. And she'll be the first honey badger in the history of the world to ever go back to the continent of Africa. Tembi lived at Howlett's and her facilities were fine, but the truth is she doesn't belong in captivity and she didn't belong at Howlett. As much as we were happy with the facilities, where she's going, she'll have nature as her facilities. Why is this important? You have to ask yourself, why would any honey badger be in a collection in Europe? For what purpose? They're not critically endangered. I don't think the public are particularly interested in them. They have no particular education value. Instead of taking honey badgers out of the wild and putting them into captivity, which is what other zoos are doing, we're trying to rewild the honey badgers and try and set the record straight, because they don't belong in zoos. Getting the paperwork for any animal to be rewilded is extraordinarily difficult. It took 2 years of paperwork and bureaucracy to finally get her landed in South Africa. We looked at a number of areas for Tembi. We chose on Loskop because it's a project that we've been working with very closely. People there are fantastic. The terrain is fantastic for badgers, so we felt very confident she'd do very well there. She's landed now and she'll be in a small enclosure for a couple of weeks to acclimatise, and then we'll attach a GPS collar. We will free her. We will obviously monitor her daily, but we hope and expect that she'll do very well. So honey badgers are not critically endangered. There's no need for them to be in captivity at all. And in European zoos, a few years ago, there was only 11, and I was quite pleased because obviously we should phase out of honey badgers in zoos. However, the last few years, the number of honey badger in zoos has gone from 11 to 23. And the only way they would have got these honey badgers taken them from the wild, through animal dealers, zoos in places like Russia, where they bring them in and then they bring them from the zoo in Russia. It's called zoo washing. So it's absolutely criminal, really, that certain zoocrats would rather bring an animal from a wild and stick them in some god-awful cage just to keep their egos happy, rather than actually put the animals first and think of the animals and leave them where they are and leave nature alone. I think what we're trying to do is just raise awareness and lead by example. Probably in the next 6 months, the Aspinall Foundation would have rescued and rewilded close to 1,000 animals, and we continue to do this work, and we hope people who see this will take notice. 1, put pressure on zoos, but 2, put pressure for more animals to be rewilded. Not go to zoos. Again, encourage any zoo to do as much rewilding as possible and speak out about it, and not accept the lies that zoos tell people that they're doing great conservation work, because they're not. So the Loskop project is a beautiful nature reserve with a beautiful dam. It's about 23,000 hectares, and it's surrounded by other local landowners. Unfortunately, most of the big game has been hunted out. Our aim is to, in cooperation with local government, is to have an agreement where we can rewild the whole area and bring back the big 5 and protect the area properly, put in the right infrastructure, train the right rangers, and over 10 years try and expand that 23,000 hectares to maybe somewhere around 60 to 100,000 hectares. And I think we have the opportunity to make one of the great reserves in South Africa. We plan to release elephant, lion, cheetah, black rhino, a number of different species. I think any project that involves rewilding and protecting nature is important. This isn't necessarily more important than many other projects around the world, but for us this is our big project at the moment. And the chance to rewild, many thousands of hectares of beautiful landscape is fantastic, and it's wonderful to return these areas to nature. With all projects such as this, they only work if they involve local government, but also, just as importantly, local communities. We hope to work very, very closely with local communities, provide employment and some financial stability for them going forward. We're looking at, I think from memory, 3 rivers, and we think 2 of them are quite polluted, so we're looking at ways that we can clean the two rivers using natural methods like reeds. If we do that, it will clean the water in the dam as well. For a project such as Loskop, we need to raise a lot of money. It will take many hundreds of thousands of pounds. We're looking for any support we can find. Adjoining Loskop is about 10 to 12,000 hectares of beautiful land owned by the King family, and we've been working with them very closely, and we're hoping to include the King family property into the Loskop Nature Reserve. We're very excited because that would be the first phase of our growth to making one of the great nature reserves in South Africa. First of all, it's spectacularly beautiful. It's 2 hours from Johannesburg. I think when we've restored nature to its proper balance there and we brought back the animals, I think that it will be one of the most beautiful reserves in South Africa.
We are currently at the cargo hold where Tembi the badger is being held after her long flight from the UK, and we're waiting to get in to go and see her. So this is some of the food for her very special diet that we had to get. It's whole chicks, and I think there's quite a few more specific items that she enjoys that have to be ordered in for her.
Shit, yeah, take it easy.
I'm Mark Gillum, consultant for Aspinall Foundation. I help the guys out a lot with the relocations and transports of the animals coming in to be rewilded. Currently, we're just waiting for a honey badger named Tembi from Howlett's Zoo in the United Kingdom. She's currently 6 years old. She's turning 7 next week, so she's going to be released into the wild, one of the only honey badgers in the United Kingdom. So it's quite exciting to have her fly out to South Africa and get released back into wild and spend the rest of her life here. She'll be released at Loskop Nature Reserve, just over 23,000 hectares, situated in Mpumalanga province, bordering the dam of Loskop. There's another female honey badger at Loskop Nature Reserve that's actually got a little cub. She's been spotted on one of the trail cams. I think Tembi would fit in quite well with the other honey badger that's been located here. She's actually got a Zulu name, which means hope in English. We cannot rewind, but together we can rewild.
Is she pretty cute?